The guests clinked glasses and raised their cocktail fingers to toast the opening of the illegal US Embassy in Jerusalem. Nobody was lifting a finger whilst more than 50 unarmed Palestinian demonstrators were murdered in cold blood in the Gaza Strip. More than 2,000 were wounded. More than 1,000 of those by live gunfire. 6 of the dead are children. Meanwhile, the belly-dancing leaders of the Arab world are struck dumb at their casino tables, unable to tear their fingers away from the gambling chips. It is a massacre. It is not clashes, Mr. BBC, Mr. AFP, Mr. CNN. It cannot be clashes because nobody has been hurt or injured on the other side. In clashes, that could not possibly be the case. This is withering fire of live weapons into massive crowds of demonstrators with no means to defend themselves. This is rocket and bomb fire on unarmed, defenseless people. And this is the dropping of phosphorus, white phosphorus gas, a chemical weapon, no less, in broad daylight, in plain sight. Neither are Palestinian officials claiming that more than 50 have died. This sanitization, this health warning, again brings our mainstream media into utter disrepute. It's not Palestinian officials that are claiming it, it's your own journalists, your own television cameras, your own recordists who are filming the massacre of more than 50 people. It's not Palestinian officials claiming. It's not clashes. It's a massacre. And its proximate cause is the decision that I described here at Talk Radio on the day that Trump made the proclamation would open the gates of hell. And hell is now what you are looking at, if you're lucky enough to watch the television screens that are prepared to show it. I just listened to the chump a minute ago on our news bulletin, saying that any country has the right to decide its own capital. Yes, if it's in its own country, it does. Germany hasn't the right to declare Rome as its capital because Rome is somebody else's capital in somebody else's country. London doesn't have the right to declare Paris as its capital city because it belongs to France. Jerusalem is illegally occupied territory. I don't know if all the chump heads out there understand what that means. It is a crime under international law to make any, and I'm quoting from the law, any permanent changes to territory acquired by force. The reason nobody else has their embassy in Jerusalem is that Jerusalem was acquired by force. And to declare it your capital when you acquired it by force is a permanent change to the status of that territory you acquired by force. So, no, Mr. Trump, Israel does not have the right to declare Jerusalem as its capital city, neither according to international law, nor according to the Oslo agreements. Remember them? Probably not. He's probably never heard of them. Now, I am one of those who believes that Trump is just a chump. I don't believe that he has very much sense. I believe that he's being led into blunder after blunder. asinine statement after statement. But his statement today that it was going to be a big day for Israel was on one level idiotic in the extreme, but on another level it has transformed the landscape. In the desert of Gaza, it takes only a drop of rain to transform the landscape, and the blood of thousands today has been shed on that desert sand, and nothing will ever be the same again. For Trump to claim that his move might help bring peace to the Holy Land is just about enough certification for the madhouse, because what it has done is set in motion, or rather hurtled the already pre-existing motion forward towards Armageddon, which I remind you once more is only a few miles as the bullets fly from where the massacre in Gaza took place. We'll be discussing that tonight with zealot of Israel and Trump, a lady who's there in Jerusalem. We'll be discussing it with a Jewish voice for peace. And we'll be discussing it with you on 0344 499 1000. And it's not the only subject we're discussing this evening. You just heard on our news bulletin, MI5 describe the clear and present danger to us of the scattering remnants of so-called Islamic State, ISIS, ISIL, are spreading now on the four winds, and their spores of evil have landed here. Hundreds of ISIS family members, including children, have returned to Britain and been allowed to enter and resume their lives here. Some may have had enough of the head-chopping, heart-eating, blood-sucking death cult that is ISIS, but others may not. Just like in Indonesia yesterday, when an entire family of 5 immolated themselves and as many others as they could take with them. They had just returned from Syria a couple of weeks before. And yet the same MI5, which identifies ISIS as such a peril to us, has just declared that Russia is an even bigger danger. The same Russia that's killing ISIS in Syria, the same Russia that is besieged by ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and the alphabet soup of Islamist extremism as we are, they are our number one enemy. They who should be on the same side as us, and we who should be on the same side as them, are at daggers drawn. Why? I'm going to be asking several guests, I hope, this evening. And lastly, we're going to discuss the BAFTA Awards. I'm a big fan of the BAFTA Awards and a big fan of Peaky Blinders, which won the important award last night. And I had hoped that this show could be a peaceful affair where we discuss the best actor, actress, and so on. Unfortunately, events, dear boy, dear girl, events have intruded, as alas, they are doing daily now. For a time I thought, is it me? Every time I'm on the radio, there's some dramatic, often disastrous event unfolding whilst I'm on air. And then I realized that it would still be unfolding even if I were not here this evening, tomorrow, Thursday and Friday. I won't be here on Wednesday because the late Melinda, whose passing has caused this dedication of this show tonight will not mind that her beloved James Whale is presenting our royal special from News UK's headquarters on Wednesday night, and that obviously would never be a gig for me, but it's James's comeback. I know how much Melinda meant to James. He talked about her practically every time he was on air over decades. I'm dedicating this show tonight to Mr. and Mrs. James Whale.